Alright, I'm gonna read a book. Alright, where was I? Hello, friend, it said in a slightly metallic sounding version of a young girl's voice. My name is Eleanor. Sarah knew the thing couldn't be talking to her personally, but it felt like it was. Hi, she whispered, feeling a little silly for entering into a conversation with an inanimate object. I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you, Sarah, the girl robot said. Whoa, how had it said her name back to her? It must have some pretty sophisticated built-in computer or something, Sarah thought. It was the kind of thing her brother might know about. He was in college, majoring in computer science. The robot took a few surprisingly smooth steps toward Sarah. Thank you for rescuing me and cleaning me up, Sarah, Eleanor the robot said. I feel as good as new. She gave a pretty feminine twirl, her short skirt billowing. Sarah's mouth was hanging open. Was this thing capable of actual conversation? Or actual thought? Um, you're welcome, she said. Now, Eleanor said, placing her cold, hard little hand on Sarah's cheek. You tell me what I can do for you, Sarah. Sarah stared at the robot's blankly pretty face. What do you mean? You did something nice for me. Now I must do something nice for you. Eleanor cocked her head like an adorable puppy. What do you want, Sarah? I want to make your wishes come true. Nothing really, Sarah said. It wasn't the truth, but really, how could this robot make her wishes come true? Everybody wants something, Eleanor said, brushing Sarah's hair away from her face. What do you want, Sarah? Sarah took a deep breath. She looked at the images of models and actresses and pop stars on her walls. She might as well say it. Eleanor was a robot. She wouldn't judge her. I want, she whispered, feeling embarrassed. I want to be beautiful. Eleanor clapped her hands. To be beautiful? What a wonderful wish. But it is a large wish, Sarah, and I am petite. Give me 24 hours, and I will have a plan to start making this wish come true. Okay, sure, Sarah said, but she didn't believe for 1 minute that this robot had the ability to transform her looks. She couldn't even quite believe that she was having a real conversation with it. When Sarah woke up the next morning, Eleanor was standing in the corner as still and lifeless as the other decorative objects in Sarah's room. No more alive than the stuffed Freddy Fazbear she'd had on her bed since she was 6. Maybe the conversation with Eleanor had just been a particularly vivid dream. That afternoon, when Sarah got home from school, Eleanor pivoted her waist, raised and lowered her arms, and moved smoothly over to Sarah. I made you something, Sarah, she said. Eleanor put her hands behind her back and produced a necklace. It was a chunky silver chain with a large cartoonish silver heart pendant dangling from it. It was unusual. Pretty. You made this for me? Sarah said. I did, Eleanor said. I want you to make me a promise. I want you to put this necklace on and never, ever take it off. Do you promise you'll keep it on always? I promise, Sarah said. Thank you for making it for me. It's beautiful. And you will be beautiful too, Eleanor said. Since your wish is so big, Sarah, I can only grant it a little at a time. But if you wear this necklace and keep it on each morning when you wake up, you'll be a little more beautiful than the day before. Eleanor held out the necklace, and Sarah took it. Okay, thanks, Sarah said, not believing Eleanor for a minute. But she put on the necklace anyway because it was pretty. It looks good on you, Eleanor said. Now for the necklace to work, you have to let me sing you to sleep. Like now? Sarah asked. Eleanor nodded. It's early though. Mom isn't even home from work yet. For the necklace to work, you have to let me sing you to sleep, Eleanor repeated. Well, I guess I could take a little nap, Sarah said, not entirely sure that she wasn't already asleep and dreaming. Getting to bed, Eleanor said, moving in her smooth stroll to the side of Sarah's bed. Even though she was a robot, everything about Eleanor was so feminine and lovely. Sarah pulled back the covers and got into bed. Eleanor sat on the edge of the bed and stroked Sarah's hair with her cold little hand. She sang, "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my sweet Sarah. When you wake, all your dreams will come true." It didn't even rhyme. Before Eleanor sang the last note, Sarah was asleep. Sarah was usually groggy and grumpy in the morning, but this morning she woke up feeling great. Eleanor, she noticed, was standing still in the corner of the room in her inanimate object pose. Somehow, Eleanor being there made Sarah feel safe, as if Eleanor were standing guard. Maybe Eleanor was just an inanimate object, Sarah thought as she sat up in bed. But then she reached up and felt the silver heart pendant hanging just below her throat. If the necklace was real, the talk she had with Eleanor must be real too. As she moved her hand away from the necklace, she noticed something else. Her arm, both her arms actually, they were slimmer and more toned somehow, and their skin, which was unusually sallow, was healthy and glowing. The dry patches of skin she was prone to had disappeared, and both arms were soft and smooth to the touch. Even her usually chapped elbows were as soft as kittens' noses, and her fingers, as she touched her arms with them, they felt different, too. She stretched out her hands to inspect them. Her once stubby fingers were long, elegant, and tapered. Her formerly short, nubby nails were now longer than her fingertips and shaped in perfect ovals. Amazingly, they were also painted a gorgeous, soft pink, each nail like a perfect rose petal. Sarah ran to the mirror to give herself a full inspection. Same mix and match face, nose, and body, but now with a perfect pair of arms and hands. She thought of Eleanor's words from last night. Each morning, when you wake up, you'll be a little more beautiful than the day before. Sarah was definitely a little more beautiful. Was this the way it was going to work? That every morning a different part of her would be transformed? She darted to the corner where Eleanor was standing. "I love my new arms and hands." "Thank you," she said to the unmoving robot. "So, am I going to wake up every morning to one new part until I'm totally transformed?" Eleanor didn't move. Her face kept the same painted-on expression. "Well, maybe I'll just have to wait and see, huh?" Sarah said. "Thanks again." She stood on tiptoe, kissed the robot on its cold, hard cheek, and then hurried to the kitchen for breakfast. Her mom was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee and half a grapefruit. "Wow, I didn't even have to yell at you to get out of bed this morning," Mom said. "What's going on?" Sarah shrugged. "I don't know. I just woke up feeling good. I slept well, I guess." She poured some cornflakes in a bowl and drenched them with milk. "Well, you were already passed out when I got home. I thought about waking you for dinner, but you were out like a light," Mom said. She watched as Sarah shoveled in cereal. "And you're eating real food, too. Would you like the other half of this grapefruit?" "Sure, thanks," Sarah said. As she reached for the grapefruit, her mom grabbed her hand. "Hey, when did you let your nails grow out?" Sarah knew she couldn't say last night, so she said, "Over the past couple of weeks, I guess." "Well, they look fantastic," Mom said, giving her hand a squeeze before she let it go. "Healthy, too. Have you been taking those vitamins I bought you?" Sarah hadn't been, but yet said yes anyway. "Good," her mom said, smiling. "It's definitely paying off." After breakfast, Sarah selected a pink shirt that complemented her nail color and took some extra time with her hair and makeup. At school, she felt a little less invisible. While she was in the restroom washing her hands, Jillian, one of the beautifuls, came in. She checked her perfect face and hair in the mirror, then glanced down at Sarah's hands. "Ooh, I love that polish," she said. Sarah was so shocked she could barely manage to say thanks. Jillian flounced out of the restroom, no doubt to join her popular friends. But she had seen Sarah. She had noticed Sarah, and she had liked at least one thing about her. Sarah smiled to herself for the rest of the day. Eleanor was mostly nocturnal. When the last of the winter daylight started to fade, she pivoted her waist, moved her arms up and down, and sprang to life. "Hello, Sarah," she said in her tiny little voice. Oh, in her tinny little voice. "Are you a little more beautiful today than you were yesterday? Just like I promised?" "Yes," Sarah said. She couldn't remember ever feeling so grateful. "Thank you." Eleanor nodded her head. "Good. And are you a little happier today than you were yesterday?" "I am," said Sarah. Eleanor clapped her little hands. "Good. That's what I want. To grant your wishes and make you happy." Sarah still couldn't quite believe this all was happening. "That's really nice of you, but why?" "I told you why. You saved me, Sarah. You pulled me out of the trash heap, cleaned me up, and brought me back to life. And so now I want to grant you wishes just like a fairy godmother. Would you like that?" Her voice, while metallic, also sounded kind. "Yes," Sarah said. "Who wouldn't like a fairy godmother?" "Good," Eleanor said. "Then never ever take off that necklace and let me sing you to sleep. When you wake up, you'll be a little more beautiful than you are today." Sarah hesitated. She knew her mom had thought it was weird when she came home yesterday evening and found Sarah already asleep. If Sarah fell asleep early every night, her mom would worry that she was sick or something. Plus, there was the homework issue. If she stopped doing her homework, that, too, would arouse suspicion, both at home and at school. "I'll let you sing me to sleep," Sarah said. "But could it be in a few hours? I need to eat dinner with my mom and then do my homework." "If you must," Eleanor said, sounding a little disappointed. "But it is necessary that you let me put you to sleep as early as possible. It's important that you get your beauty rest." After a spaghetti dinner and an hour and a half of math and English, Sarah took a quick shower, brushed her teeth, and put on her nightgown. Then she approached Eleanor, who was standing still in her corner. "I'm ready," Sarah said. "Then get in bed like a good girl," Eleanor said. Sarah climbed under the covers, and Eleanor came to the bed with her rolling gait. She sat on the edge of the bed and reached out to touch Sarah's heart-shaped pendant. "Remember to keep it on always and never ever take it off," Eleanor said. "I'll remember," Sarah said. Eleanor stroked Sarah's hair with her cold little hand and sang her a lullaby. "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my sweet Sarah. When you wake, all your dreams will come true." Once again, Sarah fell asleep before she knew what hit her. She woke feeling refreshed, and when she stood up, she seemed to stand a little straighter, a little prouder, a little taller. She ran to the mirror and pulled up her nightgown to expose her legs. They were magnificent. She was no longer stubby Miss Mix and Match with legless feet stuck onto her dumpy body. Her legs were long and shapely, with toned calves and dainty ankles and model's legs. When she ran her hands over them, the skin was smooth and sleek. She looked down and noticed that the nails on her perfect durable toes were polished the same rosy pink as her fingernails. Sarah usually wore jeans to school, better to cover her stubby limbs, but today she was going to wear a dress. She ran to her closet and took out a lovely lavender dress her mom had bought her last spring. She hadn't liked the way it looked on her then, but now it showed off her long, shapely arms and legs. She slipped on some ballet flats and admired her reflection in the mirror. She still didn't look exactly how she wanted to. That potato nose had to go, for one thing, but she was definitely making progress. She put on the little bit of makeup she was allowed to wear, brushed her hair, and went down to breakfast. Her mom was standing at the stove, stirring eggs in a pan. Look at you. You're a knockout. Mom looked her up and down, smiling. Is it picture day or something? No, Sarah said, sitting down at the table and pouring herself a glass of orange juice. I just felt like making an effort today. Is there somebody special you're making an effort for? Mom asked in a teasing tone. Sarah's mind wandered for a moment to Mason Blair, but then the image turned into her bumping into him and covering him with salad. No, just for me, I guess. Mom smiled. Wow, that's really nice to hear. Hey, do you want some eggs? Sarah felt a sudden ravenous hunger. Sure, she said. Her mom dished up scrambled eggs and toast for each of them and then sat down. I don't know what it is, Mom said, but for the past couple of days, you've just seemed, I don't know, so much more mature and easy to talk to. She sipped her coffee and looked thoughtful. Maybe you've just been going through an awkward stage the last year or so, and you're starting to outgrow it. Sarah smiled. Yes, I think that may be it. The awkward stage was my entire life before I met Eleanor, Sarah thought. At school, Sarah saw Abby in the hall and felt a pang of missing her. The two of them had so much history together, going back to the days of finger paint and Play-Doh. But Abby was stubborn. If Sarah waited for Abby to apologize to her, it might never happen. She walked up to Abby at her locker. Hey, Sarah said. Hey. Abby dug around in her locker and didn't make eye contact with her. Listen, Sarah said. I'm sorry I said those mean things to you the other day. Abby finally looked at her. Hey, they weren't wrong. I do still like cartoons and stickers and horses. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Stickers and horses and cartoons are nice. And you're nice, and I'm sorry. Friends? She held her hand out, and Abby laughed and hugged her instead. When Abby pulled away from the hug, she looked Sarah up and down. Hey, have you gotten taller or something? There was no way she could explain it. No, I'm just working on having better posture. Well, you're definitely succeeding. Eleanor had put Sarah to sleep with her usual sweet song the night before. This morning, still lying in bed, she looked at her body to see if she could tell which parts had gotten an upgrade. To her surprise, the parts of her that had been soft and flabby were now tight and toned, and parts that had been flat and childish were now rounded and feminine. Sarah chose a fitted t-shirt and a denim miniskirt to wear to school. Her pitiful little training bra wouldn't hook anymore, so she made do with the sports bra she wore for gym class. It was a tight fit. At breakfast, she asked her mom, Can we maybe go shopping this weekend? Well, I get paid on Friday, so a little shopping wouldn't be out of the question, Mom said, pouring herself more coffee. Anything in particular you're looking for? Sarah looked down at her chest, then grinned sheepishly. Oh, her mom said, sounding startled. Well, those certainly snuck up on me. Of course, we can buy you some bras that fit. She smiled and shook her head. I can't believe how fast you're growing up. Neither can I. It was true. It feels like it happens overnight, Mom said. Because it does, Sarah thought. At school, Sarah could feel eyes on her, boys' eyes. For the first time, she felt noticed. She felt seen. It was dizzying, exciting. In the hall, on the way to English, a trio of boys, cute boys, looked at her, then looked at one another and whispered something, then laughed. But it wasn't a mean or mocking laugh. Wondering what they said, Sarah looked back at them and bumped right into, No, it couldn't be. Not again. Mason Blair. She felt her face flushing and braced herself for him to tell her to watch where she was going again. But instead, he smiled. He had really great teeth, straight and white. We have to stop bumping into each other like this, he said. Actually, I think it's me bumping into you, Sarah said. At least I wasn't carrying a salad this time. Yeah, his smile was dazzling. That was really funny. Yeah, Sarah said, though it struck her as strange that he said the salad incident was funny now. When it had happened, he seemed annoyed. Well, if you're going to keep running into me, I at least need to know your name. I can't just keep calling you Salad Girl. I'm Sarah, but you can call me Salad Girl if you want. Nice to really meet you, Sarah. I'm Mason. I know. She could have kicked herself. So much for playing it cool. Okay, well, I'll see you around, Sarah the Salad Girl. He gave her one last flash of a smile. See you, Sarah said. She continued on her way to English, but all she could think about was that she just had a conversation, a real human conversation, with Mason Blair. Sarah sat down next to Abby in class. Mason Blair just talked to me, Sarah whispered. Like, talk to me. Talk to me. I'm not surprised, Abby whispered back. There's something about you lately. What do you mean? Abby crinkled her forehead the way she did when she was thinking hard. I don't know. I can't exactly put it into words. It's like you're glowing from the inside out. Sarah smiled. Yeah, that is what it's like. But really, it was the changes on the outside that were making her glow inside. In the evening, after Eleanor did her wake-up movements, Sarah threw her arms around her. It felt strange to hug something so hard and cold, and when Eleanor's arms encircled Sarah, she felt a flicker of what could have been fear, but she quickly pushed the feeling away. There was nothing to be afraid of. Eleanor was her friend. Eleanor, Sarah said, drawing back from the hug. I couldn't be happier with my new body. It's perfect. Thank you so much. I'm glad, Eleanor said, cocking her head. All I want is for you to be happy, Sarah. Well, I'm loads happier than I was before I found you, Sarah said. Today, it was like I could feel all these people seeing me, and they liked what they saw. The guy I've had a crush on for months even noticed me and talked to me. That's wonderful, Eleanor said. I'm glad I've been able to make all your wishes come true, Sarah. A dark cloud suddenly passed over the brightness of Sarah's mood. She said, not all of them. She reached up and touched her potato-y nose. Really? Eleanor sounded surprised. What is that? You still wished, Sarah. Sarah took a deep breath. I love my new body, she said. I really do. But I'm kind of what some guys call pretty from afar, but far from pretty. Eleanor cocked her head again. Pretty from afar? I don't understand, Sarah. Well, you know, guys will say, she looks great from far away, but don't get too close to her face. Oh, far from pretty, Eleanor said. I understand now. She laughed, a metallic tinkling. It is very amusing. It's not if someone's using it to describe you, Sarah said. I suppose it isn't, Eleanor said. She reached up and touched Sarah's cheek. Sarah, do you really want me to change all this? Do you want a new face? I do, Sarah said. I want a tiny nose and full lips and high cheekbones. I want long, dark eyelashes and nice eyebrows. I don't want to look like Miss Mix and Match anymore. Eleanor laughed her tinkly laugh again. I can do this for you, Sarah. But you have to understand, it's a big change. You can look in the mirror and see longer legs or a curvier figure, and they just look like you've grown faster than expected. Maybe, but still, growth is normal for a child. It is something you know will happen. All your life, though, you looked in the mirror, seen your face, and said, "That's me." It is true that your face changes some as you grow, but it is still recognizable as you. To see a totally different face as your reflection can be quite a shock. It's a shock I want, Sarah said. I hate my face the way it is. Very well, Sarah, Eleanor said, looking into her eyes. As long as you're sure. After Sarah ate dinner with her mom and did her homework, she showered and got ready for Eleanor to put her to sleep one more time. But as she snuggled under the covers, a disturbing thought occurred to her. Eleanor? Eleanor? Yes, Sarah. She was already standing beside Sarah's bed. What will my mom think if I sit down to eat breakfast in the morning and I have a totally different face? Eleanor sat down on the bed. It is a good question, Sarah, but she won't notice. Not really. She may think you look especially rested or well, but she won't notice that your plain face has been replaced by a beautiful one. Mothers always think their children are beautiful, so when your mother looks at you, she has always seen great beauty. Oh, okay, Sarah said, feeling relaxed again. No wonder her mother didn't understand her problems. She thought her daughter was already beautiful. I'm ready then. Eleanor touched Sarah's heart pendant. And you remember that I always have to wear it and can never ever take it off. Yes, I remember. Good. Eleanor stroked Sarah's hair and sang one more time. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my sweet Sarah. When you wake, all your dreams will come true. Just like before, Sarah felt the changes before she saw them. As soon as she woke, she reached up and touched her nose. She felt not a potato like Bull, but a pert little point. She ran her hand over the sides of her face and felt clearly defined cheekbones. She touched her lips and found them plumper than before. She hopped out of bed to take a look. It was amazing! The person looking back at Sarah was a totally different person than before. Eleanor was right. It was shocking, but it was a good kind of shocking. Or a good kind of shock. Everything she had hated about her appearance was gone and had been replaced by absolute perfection. Her eyes were wide and a deeper blue and fringed with long, sooty lashes. Her eyebrows were delicate arches. Her nose was tiny and perfectly straight, and her lips were a pink cupid's bow. Her hair, while still brown, was fuller and shinier and fell into pretty, soft waves. She looked herself up and down. She smiled at herself with her straight, white teeth. Beautiful. She was the total package. She surveyed the clothes in her closet. None of them seemed worthy of her new beauty. Maybe when Mom took her shopping for bras, they could also pick out few outfits. After a lot of deliberation, she finally chose a red dress she'd bought on a whim, but could never find the courage to wear. Now though, she deserved to be the center of attention. School was a totally new experience. She could feel everybody's eyes on her, guys and girls alike. When she looked at the beautifuls, who also happened to be wearing red today, they looked back at her, not with disdain, but with interest. At lunch, she mouthed hi at Abby, then walked straight to where the beautifuls were sitting. This time she didn't sit right down at their table, but made a show of casually wandering past it. Hey, new girl, Lydia called. You want to sit with us? She wasn't remotely a new girl to the school, but she was a new girl in her looks. Sure, thanks, she said. She tried to sound casual, like it didn't make any difference to her whether she sat with them or with somebody else. But inside, she was so excited, she was turning cartwheels. All the beautifuls were eating salads just like she was. So, Lydia said, what's your name? Sarah. She had hoped Sarah was a name they found acceptable. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't like Hilda or Bertha or anything. I'm Lydia. Lydia tossed her lustrous blonde hair. She was so pretty enough to be a model. She would fit right in with the pictures on the walls of Sarah's room. And this is Jillian, Tabitha, and Emma. They needed no introduction, of course, but Sarah said hi, like she had never seen them before. Lydia said, who's your dress by? Sarah had watched enough fashion shows on TV to know Lydia was asking about the designer. It's from Saks Fifth Avenue, she said. It was true. The label of the dress did read Saks Fifth Avenue. However, Sarah and her mom had bought it at a local thrift store. Her mom was so excited when they found it, she left thrifting. How often do you get to New York? Lydia asked. Once or twice a year, Sarah lied. She had been to New York once when she was 11. She and her mom had seen a Broadway show, ridden a ferry to the Statue of Liberty, and gone up in the Empire State Building. They had done no shopping in fancy stores. The only clothing Sarah had bought was an I Love New York t-shirt at a souvenir shop. A few washings had worn it as thin as tissue paper, but she still slept in it sometimes. So, Sarah, Emma said, regarding her with doe-like brown eyes. What do your mom and dad do for a living? Sarah tried not to bristle visibly at the word dad. Mom's a social worker, and dad, before dad had left Sarah and her mom, he had been a long-distance truck driver. Now she wasn't even sure what he did, or where he lived. He moved a lot, changed girlfriends a lot. He called her on Christmas and her birthday. He's a lawyer. The Beautifuls nodded their approval. One more question. This came from Jillian, the redhead with the cat-like green eyes. Do you have a boyfriend? Sarah felt her face heat up. No, not at the moment. Well, Jillian said, leaning forward. Is there a boy you like? Sarah knew her face had to be as red as her dress. Yes. Jillian smiled. And his name is... Sarah looked around to make sure he wasn't nearby. Mason Blair, she half whispered. Ooh, he's hot, Jillian said. Definitely hot, Lydia echoed. Hot, the other girls repeated like a chorus. So, Lydia said, looking Sarah over, don't follow us around like a puppy dog or anything, but if you want to sit with us at lunch, then sit. On Sunday afternoons, we go to the mall and try on clothes and makeup. Maybe get a froyo. It's lame, but it's something to do. This town's so boring. She yawned theatrically. So boring, Sarah agreed, but inside she was buzzing with excitement. Lydia nodded. We'll hang out a little and see how things go. If it works out, maybe you can go out for cheerleader next year. Consider this a trial period. Sarah left the cafeteria smiling to herself. Abby caught up to her. It looked like you were having some kind of intense job interview back there, Abby said. She was wearing gray sweatpants with a bulky purple sweater that did nothing to show off her shape. Yeah, kind of. They invited me to hang out, though, so I guess I passed the test. She couldn't stop herself from smiling. Abby raised an eyebrow. And those are the kind of friends you want? The kind that make you pass a test? They're cool, Abby. They know all about fashion and makeup and guys. They're shallow, Sarah. They're as shallow as a rain puddle. No, I take that back. They're so shallow they make a rain puddle look like the ocean. Sarah shook her head. She loved Abby. She really did. But why did she have to be so judgmental? But they rule the school. That's how it works. It's the beautiful people who get what they want. She looked at Abby's gorgeous brown complexion, at her striking hazel eyes. You could be beautiful too, Abby. You'd be the prettiest girl in the school if you lost the glasses and braids and bought some clothes that weren't so baggy. If I didn't wear my glasses, I'd be walking into walls. Abby said, with a little edge in her voice. And I like my braids and my baggy clothes, especially the sweater. It's cozy. She shrugged her shoulders. I guess I just like myself the way I am. Sorry if I'm not fancy or fashionable enough for you. I'm not like the cheerleaders or all those models and pop stars whose pictures you have plastered all over your room. But you know what? I'm a nice person, and I don't judge people on how they look or how much money they have. And I don't have to give a person a pop quiz to decide if I'll let them hang out with me or not. Or not. Abby looked at Sarah's face searchingly. You have changed, Sarah, and not for the better. Abby turned her back on Sarah and marched down the hall. Sarah knew Abby was a little mad at her, but she also knew an apology and a hug would fix things once she'd had time to cool down. After the bell, walking toward the school bus, Sarah became suddenly aware of a presence beside her. Hi, a male voice said. She turned to see Mason Blair, looking perfect in a blue shirt that brought out the color of his eyes. Oh, hi. So Lydia said you guys were talking about me in the cafeteria today. Well, Sarah fought the urge to run. Say, if you don't have anything else to do you want to go over to the Brown Cow and have a cone with me? Sarah smiled. She could hardly believe her good luck today. I don't have anything else to do. The Brown Cow was basically a little concrete block shed that sold soft serve ice cream and milkshakes. It was right across the street from school, but Sarah usually resisted the temptation of stopping there, since she had always been worried about her weight. She stood next to Mason at the counter, where the same bored-seeming old lady always took orders. Chocolate, vanilla, or swirl? He asked her. Swirl, she said, making a move to open her purse. No, Mason said, putting up his hand. I got it. It's a cheap date. I can handle it. Thanks, he had said. He had said date. It was a real date. Sarah's first. They sat across from each other at a picnic table. Mason attacked his cone with gusto, but Sarah took tiny licks. She didn't want to eat like a pig in front of Mason, and she was afraid of the ice cream dripping on her dress and making her look like a slob. Even with her self-consciousness, though, she had to admit the cold, creamy treat was delicious. I haven't had ice cream in ages, she said. Why's that? Mason said. Watching your weight? Sarah nodded. No need to worry about that, Mason said. You look great. It's funny. You've been going to the school a long time, right? I don't know how I only just noticed you. Sarah felt herself blushing. You noticed me when I ran into you with that salad, right? Mason looked at her with his dark-lashed, ocean blue eyes. I didn't notice you then the way I should have. I clearly need to pay better attention. Me too, Sarah said, so I don't keep plowing into people with trays of salad. Mason laughed, showing those gorgeous white teeth. Sarah was amazed by how confident her new looks made her feel. She could eat ice cream with the cute guy and make jokes with him. The old Sarah would have been much too shy. Not that a cute guy would have asked the old Miss Mix-and-Match Sarah out for ice cream in the first place. Once they finished their cones, Mason said, Hey, is your house pretty close? I could walk you back if you like. Sarah felt a twinge of anxiety. Mason's dad was a doctor, and his mom was a successful real estate agent whose face was plastered on billboards. His family probably lived in a mansion on the fancy side of town. She wasn't ready for him to walk with her past the garbage dump to the plain little two-bedroom bungalow she shared with her living from paycheck to paycheck single mom. I actually have to run a couple of errands this afternoon. Maybe another time. Sure. Okay. Was this Sarah's imagination, or did he look kind of disappointed? He looked down at his shoes, then back up at Sarah. Hey, maybe we could go out for real sometime. Pizza and a movie, maybe? Sarah was pretty sure her heart had just turned a backflip. I'd like that. His expression brightened. How about this Saturday night? If you're free, of course. Sarah fought the urge to laugh. Had there ever been a Saturday night when she wasn't free? All the same, all the same, she didn't want to sound too eager. I think so, yeah. Great, we'll plan on it then. Sarah couldn't wait for Eleanor to wake up so she could tell her about her day. Finally, after what seemed like ages, Eleanor pivoted her waist and lifted her arms and said, "Hello, Sarah." Sarah ran up to Eleanor and took both of her hands in hers. "Oh, Eleanor, I just had the best day of my life." Eleanor turned her head. "Tell me about it, Sarah." Sarah flopped down on the bed and propped herself up on a pillow. "I hardly know where to start. The Beautifuls let me sit at their table at lunch, and then they invited me to meet them at the mall on Sunday." Eleanor nodded. "That is good news, Sarah." Sarah leaned forward and hugged the old Freddy Fazbear teddy bear on her bed. "And then Mason Blair took me for ice cream after school and asked me to dinner and a movie on Saturday." "That's very exciting." Eleanor stepped closer to Sarah, bent at the waist, and touched Sarah's cheek. "Is he a handsome boy, Sarah?" Sarah nodded. She couldn't stop smiling. "Yes, very." "Are you happy, Sarah?" Sarah laughed and repeated, "Yes, very." "Have I given you everything you wished for?" Sarah couldn't think of a single other wish. She was beautiful and perfect, and her life was beautiful and perfect to match. "Yes, you have." "Then I have everything I wished for, too." Eleanor said. "But remember, even though all your wishes are granted, the necklace still has to stay on. You can never, ever take it off." "I remember," Sarah said. She was always tempted to ask Eleanor what would happen if she took it off, but part of her was afraid to know the answer. "Making you happy makes me happy, Sarah," Eleanor said. Sarah felt tears welling in her newly beautiful blue eyes. She knew she'd never have a better friend than Eleanor. On Saturday, Sarah was a ball of nervous energy. From the moment she woke up, all she could think about was the date. At breakfast, she was too nervous to eat much, even though Mom had made French toast, Sarah's favorite. "You'll drive me to the pizza place and drop me at 6, right?" she said. "Of course," Mom said, flipping through the newspaper. "And you'll just drop me, right? You won't walk in with me or anything." Mom smiled. "I promise I will not endanger your relationship by letting your new BU catch a glimpse of my horrifying face. Your new boo catch a glimpse of my horrifying face." Sarah laughed. "It's not that, Mom. You're really pretty, actually. It's just that it looks kind of a little kiddish when your mom comes in with you, you know." "I know," Mom said, sipping her coffee. "I was 14 too, once, believe it or not." And did you ride your dinosaur when you went out on dates?" Sarah asked. "Sometimes," Mom said, "but usually I just invite the boy over to hang out in the family cave." She reached over and touched Sarah's hair. "Don't be too much of a smart aleck, or I might decide I'm too old and decrepit to drive you tonight. Have you figured out what you're going to wear?" At this question, Sarah let out a dramatic moan. "I can't decide. I mean, it's just pizza and the movies, so I don't want to dress like it's the most important event of my life. But at the same time, how I look is really important. So wear jeans and a nice shirt. You're a beautiful girl, Sarah. You'll look great in whatever you choose." "Thanks, Mom." She remembered what Eleanor had said about mothers always thinking their children were beautiful. She knew that her mom would have said the same thing to her even before she got Eleanor's help. When Sarah's mom pulled into the parking lot of the Pizza's Paluzzo, Sarah's stomach was so full of butterflies that she couldn't imagine there would be any room for pizza. She knew she looked nice, though, so that was some comfort. "Text me when the movie's over, and I'll come get you," Mom said. She reached over and squeezed Sarah's hand. "And have fun." "I'll try," Sarah said. Until recently, the idea of going out with Mason Blair would have been as realistic as the idea of her going out with a major pop star. It had been a fantasy, something she dreamed of but never imagined would come true. Why was she so nervous when this was something she'd wanted for so long? Maybe that's what was making her nervous, the fact that she wanted it so much. But when she walked through the doorway of the Pizza Paluzzo and saw Mason waiting for her in front of the hostess's station, she immediately felt more at ease. He stood up and flashed his gorgeous smile. "Hi, you look great," he said. "Thanks." She did think the turquoise top she'd chosen went well with her eyes. "You do too." He was dressed casually in a hoodie and a t-shirt for some video game, but he would look great in anything. After they got settled at one of the red leather booths with matching check tablecloths, Mason picked up a menu and said, "So what kind of pizza person are you? Thin crust, thick crust, any favorite toppings?" I'm a flexible pizza person," Sarah said. Despite her earlier nervousness, she was actually starting to feel hungry. "I pretty much just like pizza in general, except for one thing, no pineapple on pizza ever." "Agreed," Mason said, laughing. "Pineapple on pizza is an abomination. It should be illegal." "I'm glad we agree on that," Sarah said. "If we hadn't, I probably would have just had to walk out of here and abandon you. And I would have totally deserved it," Mason said. Alright.